Good afternoon. Welcome to Presight Presents AI Lunchtime Live, brought to you by Presight and Middle East AI News, part of the Presight Presents AI Week. Ahlan wa sahlan. I'm Carrington Malin. We're streaming live daily from Presight's new offices in Abu Dhabi Global Market from 12 noon to 2 p.m. UAE time. And this is our fourth show this week. I'm hosting Lunchtime Live every day this week, with a final show taking place tomorrow, Friday, September 26th. And next week, Middle East AI News Live will be returning to the regular weekly cycle with a show on Thursday, October 2nd. During the Presight Presents AI Week, we've been shining a light on how AI is being used today to improve lives, increasing efficiency, simplifying complex tasks, and generally making things easier. We've invited leaders from technology, business, education to join us this week to talk about how AI is changing lives today, including representatives from Presight, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, Microsoft, Analog, AIQ, and more. And today we've got three great guests. We're going to be talking to Maghsan 𝗏𝗂𝗏𝗃, Chief Growth Officer of Presight. I promise to get your name right later, Maghsan. Alex Kipman, founder and CEO of Analog. And finally, �μ𝗶𝗽 Markuta, founder of NodeShift, which is one of the AI startups selected for the first cohort of Presight AI Accelerator program. So lots to look forward to, and look forward to introducing you to our first guest, Maghsan 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃, in a few minutes' time. Welcome again to AI Lunchtime Live, brought to you by Presight and Middle East AI News. We're streaming live from Presight's offices in Abu Dhabi from 12 to 2 p.m. UAE, talking about AI and how AI is transforming things. If you're new to Middle East AI News, Middle East AI News is the top source for how AI and other cutting-edge technologies are transforming the Middle East. And we're delighted to partner with Presight for Presight Presents AI Week. Let me tell you a little bit about Presight for those that are new. Based in Abu Dhabi, Presight is a leading global big data analytics and AI company powered by Gen AI, tackling some of the 21st century's biggest challenges and helping enable lifelong human advancement. Presight is a G42 group company, also listed on the Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange, ADX, and currently does business across 4 continents. And of course, on Tuesday, Presight and Abu Dhabi-based venture capital firm 𝗪𝗪 announced a new $100 million AI fund to invest in breakthrough AI startups globally. This morning, we'll be hearing from Chief Growth Officer of Presight, Maghsan 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗃. If you just joined, you're listening to Presight Presents AI Lunchtime Live. You can tune in every day to this from 12 to noon, 12 to 2 p.m. UAE time. Tomorrow is our last day of streaming. We're streaming on YouTube and on LinkedIn live. You'll find out all the details of today's program and tomorrow's on the Presight Presents page of the Middle East AI News website. You'll find that at www.middleeastainews.com. And there's a schedule of programming for this day and previous days and tomorrow, with information on guest appearances and links to watch recordings and new streams. So a few minutes' time, we'll be welcoming Maghsan. Then at 12:30 p.m., we'll do a quick rundown of the region's news headlines. At about 12:40, we'll be hearing from Alex Kipman, the engineer and inventor who led the development of Microsoft HoloLens smart glasses. And today he's the founder of Analog, Abu Dhabi-based mixed reality startup, and also part of the G42 group. A little later, at 10 minutes past 1, we're going to be joined by one of the startups taking part in Presight's AI Accelerator, which I'm quite looking forward to getting the startup perspective. If you've just joined, you're listening to Presight Presents AI Lunchtime Live. We've had a stellar lineup of guests this week and some great interviews and discussions, and some more to come. Tomorrow morning this time, we're going to be speaking to Eva Mourinho, Presight's Chief Human Capital and Culture Officer. And tomorrow we'll also be talking to one of Presight's trainees about life at Presight. So we've set out to tackle a wide range of topics this week on how AI is helping governments and industries deliver better and easier services to their employees, citizens, and other stakeholders, how AI is transforming the energy industry, and tomorrow, how the UAE's AI talent pipeline is developing and the challenges of doing that. And as I mentioned, later today, we're going to be talking to one of the AI startups in Presight's first AI accelerator. If you're looking for details on this program or the one tomorrow, just a reminder, you can check it out on the Middle East AI News website, www.middleeastai.news.com. Later today, we're going to be hearing from 𝗚𝗏𝗡𝗵𝗏, founder of 𝗓𝗨𝗡𝗀, and 𝗦𝗣𝗘𝗀𝗀𝗧𝗏, founder of 𝗏𝑠hift. That is one of the new ventures in the first cohort of Presight's AI Accelerator program. So right now, let me tell you a little bit about our first guest, Maghsan Kezhebay, the Chief Growth Officer at Presight. Part of the G42 group, Presight is a big data and analytics and AI company. It's listed on the Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange, ADX. Last month, it announced record 1 billion revenues in the first half of 2025, being an 80% increase year on year on H1 2024. And this is a very fast growing company in every respect. It's accelerating its international expansion, today operating on 4 continents. It recently opened a Central Asian hub in Astana in Kazakhstan, and it's still growing its business quite rapidly in the UAE too. And notably, Presight is one of the foremost exporters of technology that actually is made in the UAE and delivering platforms and solutions to customers globally. So I'm delighted to be able to introduce you to Presight's Chief Growth Officer, Maghsan Kezhebay. Maghsan is Chief Growth Officer at Presight and leads Presight's global growth strategy with a focus on partnerships, acquisitions, and market expansion. He's more than 11 years of experience in private equity, venture partnerships, strategic investments across emerging markets. He's also played a key role in the acquisition of AIQ, and until recently served as acting managing director for AIQ, the UAE's AI for energy pioneer. And also at AIQ, he oversaw the launch of the Energy AI project with ADNOC, the world's first custom-built agentic AI solution for energy transformation. Back at Presight, he's focused on building the company's footprint beyond the UAE, and most recently working very hard on the launch of the new Presight Shorouk AI fund that was announced last week, a $100 million fund aimed at driving global AI innovation and identifying startups with breakthrough technologies globally. Maghsan is also a board member of 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗀 Presight's joint venture, set up with Kazakhstan's 70 billion sovereign wealth fund to accelerate digital transformation in Central Asia. And so without further ado, I'd like to welcome Maghsan to the show. Very warm welcome to AI Lunchtime Live.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here.
Have a seat. So thanks so much for taking the time to join us.
Thank you.
Today. And oops. And I'll just start asking you a couple of questions, if I may. So Presight's been growing rapidly at really every level, and I had a discussion with 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, the CEO, this week, telling us a little bit about that. And it's been opening new markets internationally. It's also been growing steadily at home. Can you talk us through where Presight does business today? It's more than most people think.
Absolutely. So Presight is present in 17 markets globally. As you mentioned during your introduction, Presight is the largest net exporter of UAE and Abu Dhabi technology, and we are a representative of Abu Dhabi Inc. on the global landscape. Currently, we're actively engaged in countries such as Kazakhstan, in Europe, in Albania, and the Balkans, in Asia with Malaysia and Indonesia, actively growing markets for us, and of course across the African continent, and of course back home within the Middle East region. And truly we believe in digital national transformation programs. That's the examples that we're doing globally. And we partner with leading ministries, leading government entities, leading with SOEs to enable their AI transformation.
And last week there was an announcement with Azerbaijan, wasn't there? We did 2 MOUs related to digital transformation there. And you yourself are from Kazakhstan, and that's where Presight has their new Central Asian hub. So let's drill down a little bit on Kazakhstan because of the new hub and also the great things that Presight is doing there.
So we have a big office, our regional hub in Kazakhstan. Currently, we have 50 individuals working in it, Kazakhstani specialists. We currently are engaged in 2 very active projects, well, actually 3. One of them just concluded recently. First of all, we are the smart city partner to the capital, Astana. So we are currently fully developing a new data center infrastructure base, new connectivity baseline in Kazakhstan to empower the next generation of AI, I would say, support for the public safety and smart traffic solutions that we are going to be embedding that. And that project is going to be, I think, a grand unveiling will happen by end of this year, where we're going to showcase to the leadership of the country the results, which will increase public safety, which will increase, I would say, traffic enforceability and ensuring that the citizens of Astana are thriving as part of the program. Number 2, we recently concluded the establishment of Kazakhstan's first supercomputer cluster, which is a 512 node AI NVIDIA chip cluster. It was unveiled by His Excellency President Tokayev 2 months ago at the Astana Supercomputer Forum, which will now enable Astana's universities, the country's leading scientists, leading engineers, leading entrepreneurs to develop sovereign AI solutions on a sovereign-backed computer cluster. And thirdly, we have a joint venture with the Sovereign Wealth Fund, an $80 billion sovereign wealth fund that holds key positions within every economic sector of the country, from logistics to oil and gas. And that through that joint venture, we're currently in active discussions with multiple of these subsidiary portfolio companies to enable and embed our AI solutions into them.
That's a phenomenal scope of work. So how did the blueprint for digital transformation, national digital transformation, come about in Kazakhstan? Was that something that Presight walked into, or does it also help shape that? Or
well, it comes from 2 factors, and this is kind of the playbook that we actively use all around the global south. Is first of all, Presight, as I mentioned, is a representative of Abu Dhabi Inc. And harnessing the strong relationships between the UAE leadership and our global partners, we are becoming the trusted partner to those individual countries that we are present in. Then we start off by showcasing not the products that we want to sell, not the solutions that we have, but truly addressing the values and the, I would say, challenges that the partner nations have and the vision of how they want to become AI enabled. So in Kazakhstan, we started off by, first of all, signing a digital transformation partnership with the government, with the Ministry of Digitalization. Then we actively started supporting their AI accelerator programs called the Astana Hub, which is their local Hub 71. And that led to numerous discussions across public safety, across smart city solutions with different municipalities. Astana was chosen by the government to be the first showcase. We are actively going to expand from Astana to other regions and other cities in Kazakhstan, again, showcasing the strong and powerful solutions that we have. On top of that, we signed and became the trusted partner to the Sovereign Wealth Fund. We are the only digital arm of the Sovereign Wealth Fund, currently actively introducing and embedding our AI solutions into them and truly supporting the government and supporting the leadership with regard to their vision of localized sovereign AI transformation.
Wow. And this is the Central Asian hub now for Presight. So what does Central Asia consist of for Presight at the moment?
Well, we have big plans and currently ongoing discussions with our brothers in Uzbekistan. As you know, we're actively working with Azerbaijan, although that constitutes the greater, I would say, Central Asia Caucasus area. We have very strong relationships with Tajikistan, and hopefully going to be making some big partnerships there with the government. We've hosted numerous representatives from their oil and gas ministries, from their industry ministries, representing. We have some of the local accelerator companies representing these countries. And truly, we build long-term value creation partnerships. And I think the results of what we've done for Kazakhstan are actively seen. Of course, the region is very tight and closely collaborating. And I think the exchange of ideas and exchange of successes, especially the announcement of Kazakhstan's first largest supercomputer cluster in Central Asia, of course, the results that we're showcasing in terms of the smart city. Next week, we're going to be unveiling G42's and Presight's R&D center in the new AI hub of Kazakhstan in Alyam AI, which is a very futuristic building. It's a sphere located in the center of the city. And this will showcase truly what we can do for national and digital transformation for our brother countries. And this is exactly what I think the interest is driving from Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Azerbaijan in terms of the partnerships we can build.
Wow. And obviously they're all studying how the UAE does things very closely and following that. And I know I have readers from Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan looking at what's happening in this region. So
absolutely. And I mean, the moment you arrive into the UAE, from the ease and I would say the comfort that you pass through the airport customs, how you pass through the airport security, how you enter the country. Starting from that moment is when Presight starts showcasing kind of Abu Dhabi Inc. and the technologies that we have in the greater G42 ecosystem. So absolutely, Abu Dhabi and the greater UAE serve as our greatest showcase and salesman of the technologies that we embed.
Absolutely. So outside of Central Asia, the Far East, saw an announcement from Malaysia,
yes.
Other things going on, Europe.
So in Europe, we're in Albania. As mentioned, we're doing the smart city project for Tirana, the capital. In Malaysia, recently, our group CEO, Peng Xiao, signed an agreement to become the AI national partner to the government of Malaysia, focusing on public security, smart city, AI sovereign infrastructure build out in Malaysia. We've done the same model in Indonesia and actively growing. So of course, Southeast Asia is a very exciting market for us. We believe that there's a lot of growth there, both organic and inorganic. That region is becoming a driver of AI sovereign capacity compute infrastructure. If you read some of the news, it's becoming a key area, not only from a population perspective, but also from an active digital institutionalization. And of course, we want to be part of that success story. Europe is a great market for us. We believe, especially our partners in Eastern Europe, where I think the technologies we're currently embedding all over the world are highly in demand. And I think this is the opportunity that you're showcasing and seeing from Presight.
I'd like to switch to the Startup Accelerator. And obviously, Presight is still a relatively new company, but it's well known for having big clients and developing enterprise platforms that can be used by nations, and with quite sophisticated cutting-edge technology, and to provide services to enable services that governments can offer their citizens. So last year you announced Presight AI Accelerator, and I'm sure a lot of people saw that as a sort of supporting the ecosystem, a sort of somewhat charitable endeavor. But I was talking to 𝗏𝗏 earlier this week, and he was explaining how this is actually strategic and helps feed Presight's business, or may do in the future. So do you want to talk us through what was the genesis of coming up with that AI accelerator that was launched last GITEX 2024?
Yes. So I'll start off a bit further on the global landscape. Right now, innovation is not only seen within the large institutional, I would say, players in the market. So not all innovation happens from the Googles, Facebooks of this world. A lot of innovation, as we saw with the, I would say, accelerated, birth and the market domination that OpenAI has experienced and other upcoming AI startups. And when we were looking at Presight's inorganic strategy, which is something that myself and our team leads, we were evaluating what is the best way to tap into it. You can't go and just buy everything in the market. A, it's not financially feasible. B, does it truly make sense? So how do you create a platform, an ecosystem where you can partner with the best-in-kind startups, truly leading representatives of various sectors? How can you tap into their great development teams? How can you tap into their IP? How can you tap into their go-to-market and commercialization plans? But also, how do you support them? And any startup, be it from a incubation startup to a Series A or B startup, all of them have the same challenges, I would say. Number one is constant client growth and customer acquisition. Number two is infrastructure. Number three is the further enhancement of their AI models and solutions. And across all of these three key factors, Presight and G42 can be a key anchor partner. So number one, we understood that through an accelerator program, through a truly, I would say, strong and very, very close relationship with these startups, we will be able to both give benefit to them, but also enhance our service offerings, our IP library, our access to unique talent and leading global talent through that accelerator. So that's how we started it. That was the initial idea of why we formed it. Now, the logic of how we executed it. We took the key sectors that Presight and the G42 sector companies are in, from cybersecurity to sovereign compute to AI applications to public safety and smart cities. We went out to the market and identified leading companies. These are not only early stage companies, but these are companies with already proven clientele, proven ventures-backed stories, proven, I would say, products and strong leadership teams. We presented them a unique opportunity, something that no other, and I believe, accelerator offers, which is access to our sovereign compute, which is one of the world's leading in the world right now. Number two, access to the G42 ecosystem and Presight's international clients. And number three, a co-development of IP and strengthening of their AI libraries through some of the technologies that we have and our IP. And this resulted into, I think we were oversubscribed 120 times. I think some of the startups that we have represent companies that have, up to 50 million in ARR. Some of them are going into their funding rounds at over $200, $300 million. Some of them are servicing multinational clients, in multiple geographies. And right now, out of these 10, we're already seeing the results where 𝗬𝗏𝗍 is working with us with the Ministry of Education of Azerbaijan. 𝗏𝗏𝗀 is working with us across our smart city portfolio, both domestic and internationally. Vulcan is supporting our sister company, CPX. NodeShift, who you're meeting later today, are working with 𝗊𝗶𝗺𝗏. So you're already seeing the results out of a program that just recently launched.
And a program that is one of the first corporate AI accelerators in the region.
Yes.
It's not something that you see all the time.
Yes,
and certainly the big tech, the likes of Microsoft, they have their own startup programs. But in the region, this has not been done very much. So you're really pioneering this.
Absolutely. And we think this will be one of the fastest ways to, I would say, bridge the divide between large-scale leading AI companies and digital transformation companies and the young startups that are actively growing in the region and globally, especially within the global south, where we can bridge the divide, we can co-share opportunities, we can truly, I would say, harness our service offerings, but also give them the access that unfortunately they would not be able to get. And these are some of the use cases, as I've mentioned previously. We are able to plug and play a startup from Azerbaijan called 𝗏𝗏𝗏 in front of ADNOC, one of the leading energy companies in the world, to talk about their AI simulation solutions within seismic interpretation. And that's kind of the power that Presight has. Yeah. And that's kind of the opportunity we're giving to the global south landscape of AI startups.
Fantastic. So this was announced last year, in GTEx 2024. You selected, I think, 10 startups in the first half of the year, and then the program started a couple of months ago.
Yes.
And you had a boot camp. Do you want to recap what's happened in the last few months?
So we had a 3-day boot camp. We were honored to host multiple VIPs representing Abu Dhabi leadership and government. We had our group CEO, Peng, come and spend time with the startups and truly breathing in that visionary views that made G42 into an AI global leader. And then I think that motivated them and to see that it's possible. coming from a global south country, coming from a country from an emerging market, and building out a global AI player, which G42 has become. Of course, they got to hear and speak to all of the group CEOs of the G42 ecosystem. And this is during that 3-day bootcamp, some of the commercial deals that we're seeing now resulting from it. This is where it all started.
Wow.
So we actually saw probably a very strong retention rate and hit rate in terms of a discussion leading to a either commercial or acquisition or partnership opportunity. And we truly want to duplicate that. We want to grow it into different geographies. We want to, I would say, increase the sourcing capabilities of this accelerator. And we want to become a pioneer and a gateway for leading AI startups to join and to be able to showcase their solutions on a global landscape.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
So that's ongoing now, and some of those startups, or all of them, will be at GITEX North Star.
Yes, and we invite everyone from your viewers to come in, speak to the startups, speak to the founders, hear their journeys. It's truly incredible. It's incredible when teams can come up or solo founders can come up with an idea and now make it into a commercially successful product, commercially successful business, and it truly, I think, promotes this ecosystem drive that is what we call innovation.
Yeah, and that sort of leads into our next topic, the big announcement of the week, the $100 million AI fund that is going to seek out breakthrough technologies globally and invest in them and bring them to the UAE. Was that just a natural progression of the AI accelerator, or is this confidence that you got from seeing the results, the early results of that, or was it planned from the beginning?
It was a plan that we envisioned in parallel to the accelerator.
Right.
In Presight's inorganic growth journey, we had the honor of becoming the partner to ADNOC through the acquisition of a 51% stake in AIQ, which has led to the announcement of the world's leading and first agentic AI framework for the subsurface, that led to a strong, I would say, accretive result to our financials from a consolidation basis. And that led to Presight now having a very leading position within the energy AI domain. And we always want to go in and find the next AIQ equivalents in different sectors, supporting Presight's inorganic growth, where we come in at relatively big tickets, and acquire a majority or a path to majority consolidation stake. But that can't be your only gateway to access, I would say, talent, IP, and also potential financial accretive opportunities. And there will be positions where we see younger plays that we would take a smaller stake and help develop them into hopefully the unicorns of the future. And that is what led to the ideation of this venture fund. And we wanted to harness our knowledge of AI, our knowledge of technology, our ability to cut through the white noise. There's a lot of white noise in the market right now. There's a lot of companies that have, I would say, exceptionally high multiples, and yet very little of them display product market fits. And our ability to commercialize products, our ability to develop products, our ability to go into global landscapes and sell to leading governments and countries and partners really enables us to cut through the white noise and identify the true value of a technology or a true value of a team developing that. And we wanted to utilize that and receive financial and I would say other upsides. And this is why we started the Presight Shuruk Venture Fund 1. And the reason why we chose Shuruk, a leading player in the region with over 500 million in AUM, is because we wanted to also have a strong partner who understands venture, who has the sourcing capabilities, who can digest and understand a venture balance sheet, who can digest and understand a founder's mentality and combine the best of both worlds. And this is the result of our collaboration. I truly think this is the model that's going to win. I truly think that this model of leading operators, digital operators, in partnership with knowledgeable and leading venture-backed investment managers is going to be the winner in this AI race from a financial gain, but also from identifying the next winners, the next hopefully OpenAIs and Anthropics of this world.
Yeah, it's a very strong argument. And in the last 20 years, we've seen a lot of ecosystems that are very good at teaching startups how to pitch for more money, but not so good at teaching them how to get customers.
Yes.
So this hits the right spot.
Absolutely. And we are a strategic investor. So our model is going to be very, very strict in terms of our approach and our thesis. We are an AI company, but we're going to be very, very thematic and thesis driven in terms of our approach to investing. Number one, we did set up a $100 million fund. We are focusing on Series A and earlier stage companies, so young companies, but we don't want to just come in with a financial position. We want to come in with the ability to invest, with the ability to introduce and take this company into the greater G42 ecosystem, to take them to our partners in ADNOC, in Central Bank of UAE, in different various government entities, both in UAE and internationally. We want to be the supporter of their growth. And that also ensures that our investment accelerates and the time to value is shortened, the time to value realization is shortened, and of course, the success rate of the investment increases. And this is because we are able to, if I may call it, manage and truly give a platform for the startup to succeed. And I think this is the basis of why we are going to be a very strategic partner. I think this is why a lot of both Global South, US, European investors will want to join our ecosystem and want to, I would say, have us in their cap tables. And I think this is a unique approach, which will set us apart from the greater market of venture funds and the greater market of, I would say, investors, because we are able to create a platform for these startups to succeed. And that is the platform that we as Presight, we as G42 have built.
Great. And you got a timeline for when we'll hear about some of the first startups that will be invested in?
Well, we're active. We held our first IC meeting already. So we are actively reviewing the great portfolios. There will be some announcements being made, and you're soon to hear about them. But yes, absolutely. I think the goal is not so much horizontal scale in terms of the number of startups. I think it's more focused on the depth of how much we can come into a startup, how much can we, allocate secondary capital into it, how much we can bring value to the startup. And I think this was, again, coming back to our thesis, set us apart. We will focus on startups that are accredited to Presight, that are accredited to G42, that can be underwritten and supported by Shourouk's global expertise, and that we can see that we will be able to make them into global successes.
Very interesting. So this is from a targeting point of view, an investment point of view, and a support point of view and integration, all very strategic.
Absolutely.
Under the goals of G42 Group and Presight.
And we put, I would say, our money where our belief systems are. We're an anchor investor into this fund. We're a key driving force into it. We're not a passive LP. We're going to be very actively working with Shourouk on the GP engagement. We're actively working with Shourouk to support the sourcing, evaluation. In every IC meeting, we bring in representatives from G42 group of companies. So it's truly a group-led initiative and a partnership basis that we approach this.
And just flipping back to the AI Accelerator for a moment, the AI Accelerator is going to be at GITEX Expand North Star.
Yes.
And they're going to be demoing there.
Yes. And announcing some of the early successes we've achieved in a couple of months already. Again, as from some of the examples that I've given, we'll be announcing some of the great results of this partnership.
Great. Looking forward to that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us and telling us
much.
all about the AI Accelerator and the fund.
It's an honor being here. Thank you.
Thank you. You've been watching my chat with Maghsan Kezbeh, Chief Growth Officer for Presight. Very interesting conversation. And if you missed some of that, you'll be able to see it later this afternoon, or the recording should be available on LinkedIn and YouTube. And tomorrow, just after 12 noon, I'll be joined by Eva Mourinho, Chief Human Capital and Culture Officer at Presight. So that's 4 company offices from Presight in 4 consecutive days. Aren't we lucky? You've just joined us. You're listening to Presight Presents AI Lunchtime Live, brought to you by Presight and Middle East AI News, part of Presight Week. Middle East AI News is streaming AI Lunchtime Live from Presight's new offices at Abu Dhabi Global Market today and tomorrow, 12 noon to 2 p.m. UAE time. And tomorrow, sadly, will be our last streaming show from Presight offices. So make sure you watch that. Lots more to come on today's AI Lunchtime Live show, though. First, here's a few headlines from around the region. Yes, so Middle East AI News Roundup for today, Thursday, September 25th. Dubai Autonomous Zone has been announced today to facilitate the testing of autonomous mobility in Dubai. Dubai unveiled the plans for a 15-kilometer wide self-driving zone that will allow seamless travel by land and water using fully autonomous transport. Centered around Dubai Creek Metro Station, the Dubai Autonomous Zone will connect Dubai Festival City and Creek Harbour and integrate 7 driverless modes of transport, including robo-taxis, autonomous shuttles, and marine transport. And the initiative is a step towards Dubai's 2030 vision of making 25% of all journeys in the Emirate smart and driverless. Meanwhile, Morocco has announced a new Arab African digital hub. Morocco announced the Arab African Digital Hub for Sustainable Development at the United Nations General Assembly this week in New York. The Center of Excellence in AI and Data Science is being developed together with the UNDP and technology partners to support the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And the hub is part of the Digital Morocco 2030 strategy, positioning the kingdom as a regional leader in digital innovation, sustainability, and inclusive growth. And finally, Abu Dhabi will host an autonomous summit in November. In fact, this is the inaugural Abu Dhabi Autonomous Summit, bringing leaders together to shape the future of smart and autonomous mobility. Taking place at Yas Marina Circuit, the summit launches Abu Dhabi Autonomous Week, a 6-day program featuring demonstrations, competitions, discussions on air, land, and sea integration, AI governance, and industrial deployment at scale. The event puts a spotlight on Abu Dhabi's ambition to become a hub for innovation and autonomous technologies. So looking forward to that in November. If you just joined, you're listening to Presight Presents AI Lunchtime Live, brought to you by Presight and Middle East AI News. Next, we're going to hear from 𝗚𝗚𝗏𝗏, founder and CEO of Analog, based in Abu Dhabi. To accommodate Alex's busy schedule, we recorded the interview a few days ago, but let me tell you a little bit more about Alex. Alex is one of the world's most recognized technology innovators, inventors, and visionaries. Originally from Brazil, he's best known for his time at Microsoft, where he spearheaded the development of HoloLens mixed reality headset, laying the foundation for Microsoft's work in mixed reality, Azure MR services, and Microsoft Mesh. Alex also led the teams that created Xbox Kinect in 2010, which became one of the fastest selling consumer electronics devices of all time. Over a 21-year career at Microsoft, Alex rose to the position of technical fellow and was honored numerous awards, including Time's 100 People of the Year in 2011 and the Smithsonian's American Ingenuity Award. So very lucky to have him on our show. In 2023, he founded Analog in Abu Dhabi with the backing of the AI technology group's G42 and is building a company focused on human-centered AI and edge computing, bringing intelligence closer to where it's needed most, mixing the digital with the physical. And Analog was officially unveiled at the AI House in Davos during the World Economic Forum in 2024. So today, Alex continues leading his lifelong passion, which is developing advanced technology to expand human potential from mixed reality to the metaverse and beyond. So this is a really great interview you'll enjoy. Let's hear from the man himself. Here's Alex Kipman. Alex, welcome to AI Lunchtime Live. Thanks so much for making the time to join us and fitting us into your busy schedule. Looking forward to talking about Analog, and there's a lot to talk about. So I'm just going to dive straight in. What was the story behind the founding of Analog? How did that come about?
Well, so first of all, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here in this podcast with all of you today. Analog was born from a simple, but ultimately what I think, profound conviction. The conviction is that the digital world should not sit apart from the physical. It should merge with it. Here in Abu Dhabi, where we are headquartered, is a place where, in my mind, tradition meets ambition. And with that in mind, I saw the opportunity to build not just another tech company, but one of the world's first physical intelligence companies. That basically means that intelligence doesn't just live in the cloud or in digital systems alone, but flows through robots, it flows through sensors, and ultimately it flows through smart fabric of digital twins at a city scale. The outcome? To ultimately help people, cities, and even nations start being able to see, to feel, and act on all of this intelligence in real time. Here in the Middle East, and in my mind, in particular, which is why I started, Analog here, is just an incredible, really extraordinary environment for startups. It's this combination of bold vision with national ambition and a willingness to just leap into the future. For me as a founder, it gives me the courage to build what might seem in other places in the world something possible. In my mind, here in the UAE and Analog certainly being part of it, startups aren't just scaling companies. We got an opportunity and a rare opportunity at that to scale and create the future.
Yeah, certainly is a great place to start if you're in the tech field these days. What was your introduction to G42 and how did that relationship come about?
Sure. At the end of the day, Analog in my mind is a startup in spirit. What's that spirit? It's a spirit that combines being fast, being inventive, and in a sense, restless. We met G42 because, G42, he's an absolute, as powerhouse here in the region. I mean, conversely, they're established, they're a global brand, and they're ultimately deeply trusted. When those two things align, something quite rare as an opportunity gets created. With their backing us, we get reach, we get credibility, and we get the ability to scale physical intelligence, both across industries as well as across continents. For me personally, the relationship kind of lets us as a startup continue to be scrappy, which is the energy you want in a startup, ultimately to take all of that energy, to take all of that innovation and channel it with the weight of a corporation like G42 that shares in our mission. And then when you get the two things together, we can take what we are proving here in Abu Dhabi and we can extend it worldwide, turning essentially this dream of mine of physical intelligence from what was just a mere idea into an operating system, ultimately that can be used for the entire planet.
So you're focusing on mixing the digital and the physical, and what drives the company now in that space? What is this raison d'etre?
Sure. To me, as you mentioned, the future of physical intelligence ultimately ushers in a world where technology doesn't feel like technology anymore. In my mind, it feels more like a companion, It's robots that motivate us to move more instinctively. It's drones that tell stories in the sky. It's digital twins that allow cities to think and adapt, almost like you would think of as a living and breathing organism. For me, it's intelligence, or for analog, it's intelligence that isn't artificial, but it's analog. Analog is about being continuous, so being alive, and ultimately about being human first. Our focus is essentially twofold. First, we're building a world model. That's the infrastructure that fuses all of this data and allows the sensors, the robots, and these mixed reality experiences to coexist into one living and breathing system. And then secondly, we take all of that and bring Anna, our analog neural agent, and we bring her to life from this physical and digital data, essentially create something or someone there's a presence that remembers, learns, and ultimately, I hope, someone that can dream with us. And then together, both of these things, the world model and Anna, they form the foundation of a future without limits. And that's ultimately the mission of the company. The mission of Analog is to help both people, organizations, and nations to create a future without limits.
How does your role fit in the G42 ecosystem?
Well, again, if you think about what G42 is both investing in, and they're one of the key investors in our cap table, as well as the group of G42 companies, it's about building the entire grid of intelligence. We'll start all the way from the infrastructure that you put in, from the construction and operation of the data centers, to the digital intelligence you put on top of it in a sovereign way, to the workloads you will put on top of it. Where we fit in that equation is we then take that and we fit in this piece of the puzzle called physical intelligence, right? We scale all of this digital intelligence to the edge of compute, and we bring it to all of the endpoints that ultimately exist in our smart city fabrics.
So we're talking about edge computing there as well, aren't we? Bringing intelligent computing to the edge.
Sure.
And
yeah, I mean, another term.
Sort of,
go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, in the framework of your business in Analog, what are you bringing to the edge, and how will that provide value to people living in smart cities, let's say?
Sure. Well, once again, it's two things, right? Like we talked about, we bring Analog to this idea of physical intelligence is a world model, right? And we bring Anna, our neural agent. The world models ultimately will allow, in the context of smart cities, a city fabric, things from robots to drones to mixed reality experiences to actually exist and to get to scale, right? And then on top of it, Anna, our neural agent, becomes the interface or the companion that will help you navigate it all.
And you mentioned mixed reality a few times there, so I'm going to ask you, we've been through a few years now where there's been a lot of talk and projections and future gazing about mixed reality, but a lot of that has really failed to deliver outside the entertainment space, for example. So what do you see happening in the next few years in that, and how is AI really changing what's happening there?
Sure. I think that ultimately where the real value of these experiences come in is not in entertainment, but rather in high value scenarios. When you think about where these class of devices, shine, are in scenarios like, for example, collaborative computing, where you have multiple people that need to operate on the same information at the same time, where it's not effective, look at that information behind the bezel of screens. This is where we focus our experiences in places where we can essentially light up scenarios where that heads up contextual, collaborative information, outside of sitting in front of a desk is really needed, right? As you think about intelligence permeating every aspect of our lives, as you think about technology permeating every aspect of our lives, if you're not sitting in front of your desk or looking at your phone, how do you access those things, and how do you push those experiences in places like, for example, architecture, engineering, and construction, for example, in command and control centers of the future, and any number of places like that. And that's both where we focus the solutions here in Analog, high value enterprise solutions at the front line of work, not in the knowledge worker side of the world, And we're finding tremendous amount of value. Our customers, I should say, are finding a great amount of value in those experiences. Ultimately, that's where these devices will come to shine. Part of the reason they haven't found a lot of success in the past is because people have been focusing a lot of these experiences or these solutions in things that other devices already do, right? Personal computing experiences, gaming, entertainment. And I think what they miss is what can these devices achieve or accomplish that simply these other classes of devices cannot.
Could you give an example or two to visualize that?
Again, think about something as simple as architecture, engineering, construction, and think about the life cycle that goes through from Frank Gehry, designing Satyat Island or the Guggenheim or, the 𝗵𝗫𝗃 Museum from, how do you transmit that visionary work? I mean, how do you tell those stories? Today, traditionally, it's with maquettes that, will take a long time to build, cost a lot of money, and ultimately, the minute that they're printed and put on a table, they're already obsolete. When you think about creative process that it takes to bring something to market, and serve mixed reality experiences. All of a sudden, we can, start round tripping that architecture experience all the way from the architectural tools that where you were creating them and visualize them holographically on a holographic table. Where, by the way, you don't want to do this individually as a personal computing experience. You're usually sitting there as a collaborative computing experience, either collaborating in the creative process with other architects or pitching that conversation to the people who are funding the experience. Okay, fine. So you like the 𝗵𝗫𝗃 Museum, you like the Guggenheim. You now move from architecture into construction. Now you start building that beautiful maquette. I mean, you're sitting in 2D blueprints in the construction site and trying to match something from that 2D blueprint into the construction. I don't know how many construction sites you've been through or how many of these products life cycles you have seen. Turns out they do changes during construction, which is not very effective for the communication from that architect to the people in construction. And ultimately, a lot of mistakes get made. A lot of mistakes translate in this world into money being lost and or time being lost, again, insert mixed reality into the experience. And now all of a sudden you can, with one-to-one correspondence, start visualizing, that physical world with that digital world. You can start visualizing in context that maquette as a hologram where you're building. And then, if the architect says, look, this thing, for whatever reason, because, the space changes, needs to move from here to there. When that happens, you're not only impacting the actual physical structure that you're building, but you're at the same time round tripping to the digital twin, the BIM file, whatever the conversation of that file may be. What does the outcome of this? Things happen with less mistakes, which ultimately save both time and money. So now the Guggenheim's built, or the 𝗵𝗫𝗃 Museum is built, and you move from construction into, let's say this was the beautiful buildings that are being built between these facilities that were done the same way. You now move to the sales cycle, right? Now imagine going through a sales cycle and trying to sell someone a penthouse by the Louvre, right? And imagine more often than not that does happen, that person may not live here already. That's why they're looking for a place. How do they experience it? You can do a website and you can do some 3D fly through, and we've all seen how that kind of experience feels. Or, again, insert mixed reality, you can teleport inside of the experience. You can teleport inside of the experience and have one-to-one correspondence, photorealistic, something you couldn't tell between the difference between that and real life, and you can walk it. As a matter of fact, at that point, you can resin, Anna, our neural agent, and speak to her in any one of the 32 languages that she speaks, and she becomes kind of your guide. She can answer any questions that you have. And furthermore, by the time you're kind of done looking at, how sunset, sets on that Louvre penthouse, she can say, hey, do you want to come downstairs and, let's take a walk over the Louvre so that you can get to know the neighborhood. We've been stitching together this digital twin for a nation as part of this process, which means it's not just a lost penthouse model somewhere, but it's a connected city. You can kind of walk outside, this is virtually now. You can start getting an idea. Now imagine what that does in terms of the sales cycle for this apartment. It allows more people to go through, shorten sales cycles, and ultimately get these things to sell at higher prices. And that's a very simple example in just one industry, in this case, architecture, engineering, and construction, where you can see how this type of technology or these types of solutions done properly can really revolutionize the cycle end to end. And this repeats in healthcare, this repeats in public sector, this repeats in private sector, in any number of other places.
We're really going to see these technologies come down from being B2B behind the scenes, technologies down to the consumer, making life easier?
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, you have to ride the curve of the actual devices, right? I'm a firm believer that until you get to socially acceptable glasses that weigh just a few grams, you're going to struggle with the social acceptability of these things making it to consumer. Equally, when you think about the price point of most of these devices, again, they're expensive compared to your average couple $100 phone, which is why for us, that world will happen and we'll continue surfing towards that goal with everybody else. But for now, where these things still look less like socially acceptable glasses and more like goggles you put on. And while their price point still is not as affordable as it should be, we focus where the value is, which is enterprise. In an enterprise, when you get the types of values or the types of ROIs that I just described, wearing something for those scenarios that's not necessarily yet socially acceptable or that is not as affordable as a consumer would like is no issues.
Great. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So where do you see this whole space being in, say, 3 to 5 years' time? Do you think that's going to be a leap, or do you think it's going to be incremental change because of the time it takes to be adopted by companies and governments and customers? How do you see that working?
Yeah, look, I'll tell you that humans at the end of the day are terrible predictors of time. In the short term, they always think something is going to happen faster than it actually will, which is where you get these hype cycles that particularly tech falls into. In the long run, they usually think things are going to take longer than they actually take, which is where you get disruption to come from, which is surprise. This thing actually did happen. So look, at the end of the day, as a creator in the space, I try not to predict that kind of time frame because probably I will be wrong. And instead, I just put my heads down and I create and try to usher in this future without limits, more, better, faster, and cheaper than anybody else.
Very wise. Alex Kipman, thanks so much for joining us today. That's fascinating, and hope to talk to you another day.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This is AI Lunchtime Live, and you've been watching my interview with Brazilian inventor and visionary Alex Kipman, founder of 𝗓𝗏log, Abu Dhabi-based mixed reality startup. And if you missed any of that interview, you'll be able to watch it later as a recording after the show on both LinkedIn and YouTube. If you're not already familiar with Middle East AI News, Middle East AI News is a top source of news about AI and cutting-edge technologies that are transforming the Middle East. We have a website with daily stories, a weekly news digest every Thursday morning, and a daily 1-minute podcast every morning at 6 a.m. UAE time. We also have a weekly live show, and next week we're returning to our weekly format with a Thursday show, and our first next week is 𝗏𝗏, Qualcomm's new engineering head for the region, and we'll be talking about Qualcomm's new engineering center in Abu Dhabi. You'll find information on that and on this show on www.middleeastainews.com. If you're looking for information on today's show or tomorrow's and the guests involved, then you can look at that, www.middleeastainews.com. Look for the Presight Presents page. If you just joined us, you're watching Presight Presents AI Lunchtime Live, brought to you by Presight and Middle East AI News, part of Presight Presents AI Week. And every day this week, we've been talking about AI and how it's changing business, government, and people's lives. And we're streaming live from Presight's new offices at Abu Dhabi Global Market in Abu Dhabi from 12 noon to 2 p.m. UAE time. Earlier in the show, I was fortunate enough to talk to Maghsan Kassabeh, Chief Growth Officer at Presight. We talked about the company's global expansion. We talked about the expanding business in Central Asia and the new $100 million Presight AI fund. And just a few minutes ago, we heard from Alex Kipman, who's talking about the making interfaces more human and integrating the physical world with the digital world and how that's going to change our smart cities. We have a week full of interesting guests for you, and tomorrow afternoon, starting at 12, I'll be talking to Eva Mourinho, Chief Human Capital and Culture Officer at Presight, talking about the talent pipeline and recruitment in the AI era. And later in the afternoon, we're going to be talking to one of Presight's trainees about what it's like inside Presight. Coming up next, we have 𝗏𝗏 𝗏𝗏, founder of NodeShift. But before we do that, I'm going to give you another recap of today's news headlines. So here are the daily news headlines for Thursday, September 25th. Dubai Autonomous Zone has just been announced today to facilitate the testing of autonomous mobility in the Emirate. Dubai has unveiled plans for a 15-kilometer self-driving zone that will allow seamless travel by land and water using fully autonomous transport. Centered around the Creek metro station, Dubai Autonomous Zone will connect Dubai Festival City and Creek Harbour, integrating 7 different driverless modes of transport, including robo-taxis, autonomous shuttles, and marine transport. And the initiative is another step towards Dubai's 2030 vision of making 25% of transport in the city autonomous. Morocco this week announced a new Arab-African digital hub. The announcement of an Arab-African digital hub for sustainable development was made at the United Nations General Assembly in New York this week, which actually had quite a few big AI announcements. The Centre of Excellence in AI and Data Science is being developed with the UNDP and technology partners to support the UN Sustainable Development Goals. The hub forms part of Morocco's Digital 2030 strategy, positioning the kingdom as a regional leader in digital transformation, sustainability, and inclusive growth. And finally, Abu Dhabi will host the Autonomous Summit in November. The inaugural Abu Dhabi Autonomous Summit brings together leaders to shape the future of smart and autonomous mobility. Takes place at Yas Marina Circuit. The summer launches Abu Dhabi Autonomous Week, a 6-day program featuring demonstrations, competitions, and discussions on air, land, and sea integration, AI governance, and industrial deployment at scale. The event puts a spotlight on Abu Dhabi's ambition to become a global hub for innovation and autonomous technologies. And if you just joined, you're listening to Presight Presents AI Lunchtime Live. So now we're shortly going to go to our interview with 𝗚𝗍, who is co-founder of 𝗏𝗏𝐻, which is a startup. It is part of the Presight AI Accelerator program. So we heard earlier from Maghsan at Presight about setting up that Presight AI Accelerator program and the new $100 million AI fund that Presight and Shahrukh will use to identify global breakthrough technologies and invest in startups in early stages. And next we're going to talk to one of the startups. It's called 𝗏𝗏𝗀, a sovereign AI cloud venture, about its view of the new AI accelerator. I'm just looking around for him right now. So before I introduce 𝗏𝗍, let me tell you a little bit about him. 𝗏𝗍 Makhuta is co-founder and COO of 𝗏𝗏𝗀, which is a sovereign AI cloud venture. 𝗏𝗏𝗀 enables one-click deployment of over 140 AI agents and LLMs on-premise, and in the sovereign cloud, allowing organizations to roll out sovereign generative AI at scale. 𝗏𝗏𝗀 democratizes access to cloud infrastructure, providing affordable computer virtual machines, GPU clusters, and storage, connecting developers to affordable cloud. A startup born in Silicon Valley, 𝗏𝗏𝗀 was formed by 2 Cisco colleagues, which is Andrei Surkov and 𝗏𝗍 Makhuta. And today, 𝗏𝗏𝗀 is a USA and UAE tech company with global teams spanning across multiple countries. 𝗏𝗍, my guest, formerly worked with Microsoft, Cisco, and other tech firms in Silicon Valley and the UK. And he's also an Oxford University alumni. And today, as I mentioned, he's co-founder and COO of 𝗏𝗏𝗀. Welcome to AI Lunchtime Live. 𝗏𝗍, please come take a seat.
Sure. Thanks a lot.
Good to have you here.
Hello, hello.
So you're co-founder of 𝗏𝗏𝗀, and 𝗏𝗏𝗀 is one of the companies taking part in Presight AI Accelerator. It's an inaugural accelerator. So I want to get lots of interesting information from you on what it's like to be part of that program. Perhaps we could start with your founder story. What was the origin of NodeShift, and how did you come to develop that and choose what problem to solve?
Sure. And thanks a lot for the introduction and for welcoming me here. I'm excited to be here. As a quick introduction for myself, beyond what we've mentioned already and how NodeShift got started, Andre and I, when we came to the US, we sort of came at the same time. Both started working at Cisco in the cloud and infrastructure space. So that was very dear to our heart. We spent a large chunk of our careers working there together, but I've relocated to London. US just wasn't my thing at the time. While Andre decided to stick to the US and work at Cisco, I transitioned over to Microsoft. Now, Andre and I remained close friends ever since, kept in touch, particularly on the technology aspect. And it just happened that a joint friend of ours was getting a hair transplant in Istanbul. So
it's a good story.
So we flew over to Turkey. I flew from London. Andre flew over from San Francisco. And I don't know if you know how the process of a hair transplant works, but in Istanbul, but usually you have a section for family and friends where there's a massive glass window and you can just like look into the procedure while it's going on. You even have a Spotify playlist. You can switch music. And Andre and I had 10 hours to catch up while this was going on. And Andre brought up the fact that there's a massive gap when it comes to running AI models in a sovereign way. There's a massive gap when it comes to alternatives to platforms like VMware and Huawei Cloud Stack. And we had 10 hours while the transplant was going on to just discuss this. And we matched as founders and we decided, you know what, let's actually bring this together onto the market, which is how we matched as co-founders to begin with. Our initial focus was, let's go to the US first. But as we started assessing it, we realized that while US is very quick when it comes to adopting innovation, there's no regulatory pressure when it comes to sovereign environments. The European Union, on the other hand, has the right regulatory environment, but they're not as quick when it comes to adopting innovation. And the UAE and the GCC market in particular just seemed like the perfect fit, where you have the regulatory environment with the right pressure, and also willingness all the way to larger corporates and government institutions to actually adopt those technologies, which is how the idea for NodeShift came to be and why NodeShift is headquartered now here in Abu Dhabi.
Wow, that's quite a story. So looking at the landscape, obviously our generative AI landscape has changed phenomenally over the last 3 years. When was NodeShift founded?
About 3 years ago.
About 3 years ago. So what needs did you see then, and how are those needs developing?
Sure. So our primary focus when we started NodeShift to begin with was, how can you manage your data center with a software stack that allows you to be fully independent of any other tools out there? And for that to be done at a very affordable rate, because there were similar players in the market. The technology stack is older. It doesn't take into consideration AI. And again, it's not built in the region for the region. So we kind of saw a very clear gap when it comes to it. However, as we started speaking to more customers in the region, we realized that a lot of them are actually claiming with 2 laptops to work. And the reason behind that is that they have strict company policies that are not allowed to use public generative AI platforms like ChatGPT by OpenAI or Claude by Anthropic. Whilst those platforms are great, you don't want your employees to be leaking sensitive information about the company to those third parties, because even if they're hosted in the region, you're still giving away sensitive information about the company. So this is where the idea came to be that, okay, everyone wants to take advantage of generative AI to the extent where they literally bring their own device to make it happen. So why don't we enable an easier way for companies to launch generative AI on top of their own data centers in an affordable way to make sure that the employees have an easy tool to use internally in the company to do exactly the same things as they would do with ChatGPT, with Claude, with Mistral, or any other LLM. And what we basically built on top of our platform is an easy way to deploy over 140 AI models directly on the customer's infrastructure, regardless if it's a government institution, financial organization, defense institution. They can deploy AI models and leverage and use them like ChatGPT without giving away any sensitive information. This can run fully in an air-gapped environment, which basically means you don't require access to internet. So just to kind of summarize it, we essentially saw that there's a need to roll out your own private ChatGPT-like environment directly on your infrastructure without access to the internet. And to give that ChatGPT-like environment tools to your day-to-day tools like emails, databases, ERP systems, customer relation management systems, and be able to extract data from different sources and manipulate it for your work needs. And again, this came from the fact that we were here in person, we were speaking to different customers and organizations, and it was just an anecdotal that we saw some of them bring two laptops to work.
Wow. Yes, good point. So you must get now an awful lot more attention than you got 3 years ago. Everybody's using Gen AI. Everybody wants to use the latest models. All employee, I think there's 50 or 60% of employees using this technology all the time in offices, and 80%, 85% using it, weekly or daily. So you want to take us through what your tech stack is? Is it a cloud service as such, or is it only for on-prem implementation with the customer?
So it's a mix of both.
Yeah.
What we basically built is a virtualization layer that allows you to manage fully your data center. So we install directly on top of your bare metal, on top of your GPU infrastructure, compute infrastructure, on top of your storage. And NodeShift manages all of that underlying hardware. On top of that, we have a cloud management layer, which enables you in a few clicks to be able to manage all of that hardware in a seamless way. And on top of that, we have our AI stack, which enables you to deploy hundreds of AI models directly in one click on top of your infrastructure. The AI models see what type of infrastructure you have under the hood and automatically identify which AI models can run based on the configuration space that you have. So that is one approach of how you can leverage NodeShift. The same approach of running within your own data center, you can actually deploy it in the cloud as well, or you connect part of your data center and connect part of your cloud environment as well. So we're meeting the customer exactly where their needs are. If you want fully air-gapped, we can do that. If you want to mix with the cloud environment, we can do that as well. And in fact, just because there was such popular request of how can we safely enable generative AI, such as ChatGPT, to day-to-day employees, we also built an additional way of how you can use public models in a more secure way. So let's take, for example, you have someone in a company that wants to write a prompt that potentially might contain sensitive information and leverage it with ChatGPT. It might be an NDA document or a customer document. So what we've done is we are running an AI model directly on top of your infrastructure that analyzes every single prompt before it's being sent to public models like ChatGPT or like Claude by Anthropic.
Right.
That AI model analyzes if it contains any sensitive information about anything that you restrict, I don't know, against company policies, or maybe it's a customer information or an NDA. If it contains anything sensitive, the prompt is never sent and is flagged to the IT team. However, if the prompt doesn't contain anything sensitive and you're asking something, tell me the latest news about the stock market, or do an analysis based on publicly available information, it can do exactly that. So not only do we enable you to run AI models directly on-premise in your own infrastructure, but we also enable you to have a gateway of how can you safely leverage closed source AI models like the Claude, Mistral, and ChatGPT by OpenAI.
Terrific. And what sort of response have you had from industry sectors? Have you found some sectors are easier than others?
So it was very counterintuitive for us, because usually the motto for the majority of the startups is you start small and you climb your way up. The beauty behind being in the UAE specifically is we can actually start from the top with the larger government institutions. And that was very surprising to me. Again, work primarily always in the US and the UK. I was always used that it's extremely difficult to get to key decision makers. Here, as an example, we're currently being used by the Ministry of Economy of the UAE. We had a meeting with the Minister of Economy himself. His Excellency loved the product, thought it's really amazing, and just pushed his IT team, we should get this done and adopt it. And literally from the meeting, from the point we had the meeting all the way to the implementation, it took about 2 months to get it done, which is extremely quick, given the tech stack that we need to do. Similarly for the central bank of the UAE, again, they like the product, they like what they've seen, and they're like, okay, let's just move forward and get it done. So at the moment, they're doing a proof of concept with us where their team members are directly leveraging NodeShift for their day-to-day work. Similarly for Qatar's development bank, they were looking for a safer way to leverage generative AI without sacrificing their privacy. In fact, they liked the product so much that they decided to invest in us as well, and we just made that public announcement 2 days ago. So again, it was counterintuitive for us because straight away, bigger organizations saw the value. There were no long waiting periods. Straight away, they were like, okay, how do we adopt this? So our mantra here in the region changed altogether, and we're just focused on government institutions, big financial institutions, and defense organizations that care the most about privacy.
Fantastic. Yeah, this region's got a really big appetite for AI, and it's not viewed as it is in some countries as a nice to have, something that needs to be phased in. It's something it's necessary, and so mountains are moved to make sure that we get the best technology to do the job.
And for sure, and I absolutely love that. And there's definitely a doer attitude as well. Like, they want to get it done. And it's not just AI for the sake of AI. So we've traveled across the entirety of the Middle East, and we've seen across different cultures what their perception is of AI and how they want to leverage. Some are still figuring out, but here in the UAE specifically, there's a very clear focus on, okay, what is the return on investment? What is the value that I'm getting? How much time am I saving per employee? How much value am I deriving from your product? Yeah. And they want actual metrics before we even discuss adoption or POCs. And that's exactly the approach that we like. We want to drive value. We want to create value on the market. And if they see it, they go for it.
Great. So what was your introduction to Presight then? Because you're part of the Presight AI Accelerator. How did you get involved in that? Did you literally just apply on the website, or did you already have a conversation going?
So it was purely accidental. For reference, our office is literally the tower next to Presight's. We're in Al-Khatam Tower, and actually we're on 17th floor as well. So it's just very. So we probably can see the Presight office. We just squeezed hard enough, but. Essentially, we were trying to figure out how do we start speaking to the wider G42, in particular Presight and Core42, because those were the main points of interest. And as we were figuring out, we're part of Hub 71, which is an accelerated program out of Abu Dhabi. They've invited a few people from Presight just to speak about what they do on a day-to-day basis. We went to attend that speaking slot. We were talking about this. The next day, the speaking slot happened. And some of the team members from Presight just announced, you know what, we're actually about to launch an accelerator program. And we're like, oh, this is ideal. And the tower next to us, so we applied straight away. So it just kind of happened naturally.
Fantastic. And from a startup point of view, how's that experience been, and what have you found that's been really useful out of that program?
Sure. So I'll share an anecdotal story of how Presight started for us. The Presight journey started for us even before we were accepted into the program. So after we applied, we had an initial set of interviews online, which was followed up by a short list of interviews in person. And out of that sort of pitching session in person, they would select the final list of candidates that would make the cut into the final program. So we actually came in person to this very same office, and actually it was this very same room where we had to pitch our products and our startups and how we would fit into the wider ecosystem. So it was a number of executives from Presight that we were pitching to. Literally, the moment I finished my presentation and we had our first break, the CEO of Presight, Thomas, even before we knew if we were accepted into the program, took me by hand into the office next door and said, we actually have a project where we needed this exact product. He introduced me to a colleague of his, and we started working on a joint project even before we were accepted into the program. We found only a month later that we got in. But this is kind of the attitude that we received even before getting into the program. You can imagine that after getting through, the opportunities were even bigger, because from the moment we got in, not only did we start getting a lot of bigger introductions in the region to begin with, but also a lot of visibility and interest in us. Now, we usually used to be kind of an outbound-led company. Ever since our work with Presight, there's a lot of inbound leads coming through. For example, the Presight team managed to organize a pitching session for us to the CEO of G42, Peng Zhao, which was an amazing opportunity for us. And again, having that level of visibility just led a massive level of inbound leads, which again, further improved our business development.
Wow. So the association with the Presight brand has helped to bring you business.
Yeah. And Presight itself was also very, very involved, and is very involved. In fact, just before jumping here, had a meeting with a few of our partners from Presight about some of the existing and ongoing deals and POCs that we're working through.
And there was the boot camp for this accelerator was, I think, in July or August.
Yeah, beginning of August.
Beginning of August. And then you got to meet more of the ecosystem, more of the G42 ecosystem.
Yeah, so it was a great opportunity, first of all, to meet across the entirety of the G42 ecosystem, across all of the subsidiary companies. And actually, we can't divulge too much yet, but we're working with 2 at the moment on a on a potentially very, very interesting project. But also a lot of the G42 customers and partners from the region came there as well. So we had a booth where we're able to present demos of 𝗏𝗡𝗃 itself. And again, I can't divulge the names of the customers just yet, but there's a few customers in the energy sector that were looking for an exact solution like this, but didn't know where it existed on the market. And what they liked a lot, and again, what Presight allowed us to kind of open within the market itself, is that all of our engineering is done out of Abu Dhabi. So we relocated all of the engineers we've hired initially in the US over here. So they're all in the nearby tower. And Presight essentially platforming us, being able to share that story that, look, we're building a product in the region for the region. Mm-hmm. Not only is it sovereign by design as a level of software, but also you can be confident from a sovereignty perspective that everyone that's working on the product is actually based here. And just the fact that we're able to share this story at the bootcamp accelerator, when you had, tens and tens and tens of different organizations coming by your booth and listening to your pitch, again, that just kind of expanded the view of people that are familiar with the product. So it happens now that when I go to a first customer meeting, that they've already heard about us because a peer attended the bootcamp accelerator and they knew about us.
Absolutely. So how is this affecting your business? And are you expanding? Are you hiring? And are you now decided to focus on this region, or is this actually going on in parallel with other things?
Yeah, so we're fully focused on the GCC region. Our primary focus is the UAE, and now we just opened the second office in Qatar as well. So we have an office in Doha that's in the process of scaling. Yes, we're hiring. So if you're an engineer that's local, and if you speak Arabic as well, that's a major plus, because we essentially have engineers that are responsible for building the product. They're also responsible for supporting the customers too. So the way we built our support system for 𝗏𝗡𝗃 is whenever we work with the customer, we don't want to have support people that aren't involved in the product side of things. So whenever you have an issue with the product, or you want additional features, or you need additional support, we have people that come literally out of our Katam tower. They come in person to the customer and they start working with them in person. So the product that we've built is available both in English and Arabic as well. And we actually have government institutions using the product in Arabic, also supporting the Emirati dialect too. So one of the niches that we're looking for in particular is people who are local that speak Arabic. And in fact, even if you don't have the relevant skill set when it comes to kind of deploying AI at scale, we can skill you up. Again, because we brought in some really amazing talent from the US. My former colleagues from Cisco, from Microsoft, from X, are really familiar with the infrastructure side of things, really familiar with the AI side of things. So we're nurturing and growing talent internally here within 𝗏𝗡𝗃 to be able to essentially have developers here originally. And we're not doing just this in the UAE. We're doing this in Qatar now as well. And for every new market that we'll tackle in the GCC, we're going to do exactly this.
Wow, that's quite impressive. And is that a significant differentiator with other platforms?
Yeah, I mean, there's no other similar platforms that are built here in the region itself. And usually if someone is trying to build something similar or go in a similar direction, they have a massive base in the US or Europe. And our take was, no, we're going to focus on this particular market, and we're going to focus on scaling the team entirely here as well. And it's important not only because of the time zone aspect, but it's very important because the culture here, and actually you have a multitude of different cultures because you have experts from all across the world working at different big organizations, is that they like things being done in person. They like someone coming to you, speaking with you, engaging with you, and that's exactly the type of service that we offer. I personally, whenever I go to eat out or do something else, I like the kind of the personal touch that you have, and this is exactly what we're trying to replicate. Is that not only are you getting remote support and help, but at any time you can just call me on my number and I can go and be there in person, and any engineer from our team can do exactly the same thing. And that adds a massive value add. Yes, we are sovereign. Yes, we are localized. But the fact that we're here in person and can be with you literally within an hour's time frame, that makes a massive difference.
Absolutely. Huge. You're at GITEX, Expand North Star in October.
Yeah.
And so you're available at GITEX, presumably doing, you'll have a demo and be with Presight.
That's correct. So very excited about it. We're gonna be at the conference in the middle of October. I think it kickstarts North Star and GITEX around 12th of October. So we're going to be for the entirety of that week. We're actually working on some exciting things with Presight and some of our existing customers that we're trying to ramp up to make sure that we can announce at least some of them at the event itself. So yeah, lots of preparation, lots of sleepless nights, but very excited about it because it's a great opportunity to see people and businesses from all across the globe that are going to come to JEDEX. It's a massive conference, massive opportunity to share the latest tech. But also what we're planning to do is share some of the more exciting things we've developed and the roadmap moving into the next couple of months and the next years. Brilliant. We need good to wrap up now. Anything else you want to add? Nothing else from my side. I mean, if someone's a startup that's just listening to this and you were considering this as a potential accelerator, but you weren't sure if this is the right way to go, I can tell you straight away, having been through multiple accelerators, that calling this as an accelerator is an understatement because there's so much go-to-market motion that's happening behind the doors. And it's not just, symbolically, oh, we will tackle a customer. No, you're literally grabbed by the hand and they take you to a customer and you start working on a joint deal together and figuring out something from day one. So if you're a startup from the US, Europe, or even a local one that's trying to figure out how can we expand in the UAE region or in the GCC to begin with, I'd highly recommend you to consider it. Excellent. 𝗤𝗍, thanks so much for coming to talk to us. Thanks. And best of luck and good luck with JEDEX. Make sure you got your track shoes on. I'll make sure to do so. I really appreciate the invitation. Thank you. Great. Thanks. Thank you. You're watching Presight Presents AI Lunchtime Live, brought to you by Presight and Middle East AI News. And you've just been watching my interview with 𝗦𝗲𝗽𝗁, co-founder and COO of NodeShift, a sovereign AI cloud company. And that's all we have time for in today's show. You've been watching Presight Presents AI Lunchtime Live, brought to you Presight and Middle East AI News. Tomorrow is the last AI lunchtime news of the week, unfortunately. So please do watch from 12 noon to 2 p.m. UAE time tomorrow via YouTube or LinkedIn. And you'll find all the details and guest details on middleeastainews.com. Look for the Presight Presents page. And of course, first on tomorrow at 12 noon on Friday is Eva Mourinho, the Chief Human Capital and Culture Officer at Presight. So looking forward to that and talking about a talent pipeline in the UAE. Thank you so much for being with us today. And please do join tomorrow's show, 12 noon to 2 p.m. UAE time. Have a great afternoon.